Hello everyone, welcome to Redmen TV. It is the build-up show. Liverpool back from their warm weather break. I wish we could say the same. It's been freezing here. We're going to talk about Liverpool, Leicester. Chris Pajak joins me. Andy Grant, special guest, joins us. And you know what, Ahmed, Gouda joins us. You're also a special guest. You just don't have a book.
Yeah, that's all right.
But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, Chris, as mentioned, Liverpool back from the break. Pochettino's chat about how we're still in 4 competitions and Liverpool and in Dubai, with that kind of blew up in his face. But
good.
Yeah, in your face, Poch. But I mean, that just means that it's on Liverpool now to prove that we've happily bought into the narrative that this is a good thing for Liverpool not to have a fixture pile up. We sat off at the weekend while, you know, they've got things up in the FA Cup.
It kind of proves Pochettino's point to some extent, doesn't it? Is that, you know, their squad wasn't good enough to fight on 4 competitions. I don't think ours was either, to be perfectly blunt with you. And I think, you know, we recognised that very, very quickly. And Klopp managed to manufacture a warm weather break. And I think that he did try to go through against Wolves in the Cup and stuff. But coming back from the break, the worry is, you know, we've seen Klopp take these players on warm weather breaks before and they've not come back firing. Yeah. It's taken a few weeks to see the benefits of it, and hopefully it happens a little bit faster this time around.
It's one of those, isn't it, Andy, where it feels at times like Klopp's teams enjoy pain. They actually enjoy being in the middle of it, in the fight. And Chris is right. I haven't done the research into it, probably should. I should have done really, but it does. I have that feeling too. Like we don't always come back from breaks as quick as we should. But realistically, there's no letting up. This has got to be one of those things. We've got to turn this into a positive and kick on for the season.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you say that as well. I had no idea that after the break maybe we haven't come back firing. But I think it was important for him to go away and have that time. You know, I don't think anyone would doubt that. The other thing I think to notice as well is all this talk on who's spending and the big squads and things like that. I think as me as a Liverpool fan, we've got a great first 11 and maybe another couple of players, but we haven't got the squads, and anyone's kidding themselves if they're thinking we can challenge on all 4. So again, I was happy that they had the break, and I'm just hoping it does do what it was meant to, and just give them that break, that coming together, because that's what we needed.
It's a chance for Klopp to get the squad out of their normal environment. I think sometimes you can get a little bogged down with the daily grind of life, and whether you're a football player or you're working in an office or anything, it can become almost boring because they're previewing a game, they're playing the game, they're
having a couple of young players as well on the fringe, having them. I'm presuming they all went away with them as well. That's surely got to be a good thing.
I think that's it. We were talking on the podcast last week, Ahmed, about how things like Klopp's big on this. He's big on refreshing things, you know, like changing the training kit midway through the season stuff, just to make the players feel like they're coming back into something. Like it's not, as you say, it's not a slog, because it is a slog. It is a slog, you know, getting them through the season. It's a very long time. It doesn't feel like it for us at times, but that's what this has got to be about. And you know, he said this wasn't like an intensive training session. He's going to touch them on it. It was team building, it was recovery, and it was a bit of work. And I think everyone will have come back. The Oxlade-Chamberlain stuff is one of the big things to come out of it. He's back in training. He's out there on the pitch. He's doing ball work. He's playing with that. That's another one of those things that will have given everyone a massive lift.
Yeah. I also think it's got something to do with the weather as well.
Yeah.
You know, with injuries and whatnot coming up. I think the weather can play a big part as well at this time of the period. So I think it's actually a good thing that we went there and we done that training in Dubai. So
yeah,
I'm quite happy with that.
That's a balance, isn't it? You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. You've then got to go back to the shock of coming back to this weather when you've been chilling in Dubai.
And I think a few of the lads, by all accounts, have got an illness because of the change in temperatures and stuff. I know Van Dijk picked up a bit of an illness, and Fabinho, nothing too serious. Hopefully, they should be involved in the game. But you know, that does play an important part in it. But for me, it's what you mentioned a minute ago, Paul. It's that team building side of things, you know, taking people out of their environment and making sure that you're coming into the business end of the season with one goal for the entire squad.
And it's going to be one of those seasons where hopefully, you know, the pressure's going to mount in the end, and there's going to be those times where, you know, you sink or swim, and hopefully by having these team building moments, you know, they will know each other that bit better. They'll know what works, and you know.
Yeah. Well, it's both, isn't it? It's the team building thing, absolutely, but also again the physical side of things. You know, we've been saying this all season long. We're on the back of a World Cup year, and the big teams who were there, Spurs and Man City in particular, were more involved in the World Cup than this Liverpool squad. That's going to play a factor in the last month of the season. This was given how important the league is, this has just been a massive opportunity for Klopp and the fitness team to get everyone together and just, Ahmed, just hopefully put as much fuel in the tank as possible, because, I don't know, I know Chris is a big Formula 1 fan, but, it's like, what's your stop strategy in this? Well, we've been given a free hit almost, we've been given an extra stop to take on fuel, change tyres, and now it's a straight burn to the end of the season.
Well, would you rather them stay? And, Leicester stayed.
Yeah.
So
I just, at the FA Cup, like, I'm not going to get into, like, it's a slag in the FA Cup, because I've had some amazing times in it, but you can see what happens. We saw a little glimpse of it with the Wolves game and the problems you had, with Lovren and what have you. And you can see it with Tottenham Hotspur and blah, blah, blah. And I just think, worry about the FA Cup next season. If we want to go and win it next season, go and win it next season. Win it once you've got a league title under your belt. You can worry about the league. Well, the League Cup,
that's the big thing,
the League Cup all they want, because they've won league titles.
Big thing, you're having a bit of banter and some blues are saying, oh, yeah, I thought you were a big team, shouldn't you want to be winning everything? Listen, I'm not bothered about the FA Cup. I want that league, and we're in a position now that we've never been in before. So whether it's disrespecting the FA Cup or not, me personally, I don't care.
Look at Arsenal. Arsenal won the FA Cup about 3 years on the bounce, didn't they? Didn't help Wenger in any way, shape or form. They got no closer to winning the Premier League for winning the FA Cup. You've got to prioritise at the beginning of the season, and Klopp, I think, is... he's a realist. He'll look at his squad and he'll know the limitations of it. And, we went far in the Champions League last season. If you had to rank the competitions, it's Premier League, it's Champions League, it's FA Cup, it's League Cup. And if you don't think your squad's good enough for all four, well, you're not sacking off the Champions League because of the money that goes into it. And you're certainly not sacking off the Premier League. Yeah. Unfortunately, it is those silver competitions.
We don't have to be happy about it. I don't want to sit here. I can put my football purist hat on and be dead upset that we're not going, we've not gone all out for the FA Cup, because it should be an important competition. It's an English competition. It's the best cup competition in the world. We've got a storied history in there. Remember 1965 and what it meant to win it for the first time, blah, blah, blah. The harsh reality is that, and that's why, it's sad to say, and I don't like to say it, but, we're in a world where making sure you're in the top four is far more important than winning the FA Cup. You should, you want to be able to engineer both.
Let's be honest with one thing. So if we wanted to go further in the FA Cup, we could have.
We could have made it. We could have gone slightly. Yeah, we could have tried hard to say it.
Correct. Look at the squad that came out. Look at the replacement for Lovren. So things like that. So if we did want to go further, we could have. So.
And let's remember as well, regardless of the results of this game, Klopp didn't take them away to Dubai for this one game. He's taken them away to, as you say, recharge the batteries for that run-in for the entire season. Whether you win, lose or draw this game, that didn't change. It's about the result over a period of time. Yeah. We could have a dodgy result against Leicester and it'd be gutting, but you never know those next games where we might see
people's heads would naturally fall off in that. Of course they would. But you're right. This now is just about. It's not about what we're doing on a week-to-week basis. Helps if we win every single game. It's where we're going to be come the end of May. Well, let's look a little bit more closely at this game. Chris Club, Puel, don't like him.
No.
8 times we faced his side. We've only won twice against them, and fortunately they were the last 2 games we played, both against Leicester. He is one of those guys, and I can't help but think about like the League Cup semi-finals, that kind of stuff.
Did we play Southampton 4 times that season and didn't score a goal against them? He's a manager that we've historically struggled against, and scoring goals has been a bit of a premium against those sides. We know how he likes to set up. We know that Vardy's a little bit of Liverpool's kryptonite, who seems to score every time he plays against us and stuff. So it will be a very, very tough game this for Liverpool, but you'd fancy that Klopp sort of got over the hump, as it were, with a Claude Puel side now with those last 2 victories. I think he knows how Puel's going to play against him. I think the 4-2-3-1, the possession-based stuff's obviously worked a little bit better than the counter-attack and when Leicester aren't coming at us.
I think, Andy, Leicester are one of those clubs that Klopp's looked at since he's been in England. Probably like a first with a bit of bewilderment and also like a bit of appreciation or whatever, because they're a team that Liverpool should, you line the 2 teams up on paper, Liverpool should be beaten, you should be beating Leicester, but you've seen Leicester win the league, you've seen all these things, they've caused us problems. I think they're a bit like Crystal Palace to some extent. They're one of those teams I don't think he really likes playing, but the one that he takes very, very, very seriously.
Definitely, yeah. But I also think as well, I think teams, if they're not already, they will be soon, changing their view on us. Those type of teams, maybe Southamptons, your Leicesters, thinking, we can get a result here at Anfield. Liverpool tend to raise the game for the big teams, but maybe not so much us, and can feel that with the likes of Vardy, who's a big game player. Yeah. They can do something. But I'm starting to feel now clubs are coming here thinking this is a different Liverpool team now. You know, it's not that team that will get rolled over by a mid-league side. You know, these are going for the league, and I think there's just more of a professional way we're doing things. That those teams, although they are bogey teams for us or a bogey manager, I don't know. I just feel personally something's changing, and they don't feel like bogey teams as much.
Yeah, you know what it is for me? It's that this is Anfield sign that's been there in the tunnel for years and years. I don't think that meant too much over the last 15 years for opposition sides coming out the tunnel. I think there's an aura around that sign in Anfield right now where teams are going out there going, we better not get beat 3-0.
Yeah, and it's because of the form, it's now the stats, you know, teams are looking and going, you know, take away the 3 goals we conceded last, but before then it was, we conceded just a handful of goals, and so teams are coming now thinking, whereas in the past we're thinking, they don't play great against teams like us. Yeah. They're thinking, we're only going to score 1 goal potentially here. Yeah. That's it. So, and it's just a different view on things, I'm thinking. So I don't feel as much bogey teams, bogey managers anymore, and that's purely down to just how Klopp's got us playing at Anfield.
No, I agree.
And the fortress that's come again.
I completely agree with that, and that's it. I mean, it just feels different, doesn't it? You know, and inevitably, I still carry these lingering fears. I've done the fear conversation so many times, and see every one of these build-ups, because you'd only ever a poor performance or a dodgy goal or whatever away from, like, oh, you know, you sound like you're overconfident or whatever. I don't feel cocky. I just feel a great deal more trust in this side than I've probably felt in the Liverpool side almost for my entire life.
I'd say, I trust this team more than any others, but Leicester are unpredictable. Yeah. You know, they are like a Crystal Palace, and I do think after this Crystal Palace performance, a lot of teams are going to say, hang on, you know, something's happened there. Maybe we can go there and get a result.
Good. But I think that hopefully that's a good thing, because I want naivety, I'd call that, to be perfectly honest. I want clubs thinking, ooh, maybe there's blood in the water, maybe Liverpool, so maybe we'll try and catch them cold. Yeah, go for it, bring it on. Because I think what I saw from that Crystal Palace game was not Liverpool conceding 3 goals. It was the fact that we just flexed our muscles and went and scored the goals that we needed to go and do it. And that's something we haven't really had to do this season, because we've just been so composed and how we've achieved most of the
wins. And we didn't stop. You know, we kept going. We didn't stop. Even 3-2 or 3-1, 3-2, I think it was. We didn't stop. We kept going. Yeah. So 4-2.
And we'd lost a man by that point as well. You know, we scored 4 second-half goals in that game. Yeah. You know, the last 2 teams that have scored first at Anfield, his name isn't Liverpool, have conceded 4 goals. It's like, you know what I mean, Arsenal, you know, they angered us and we went and scored 4 goals and snotted them off the park in the end. And Crystal Palace, it was a little bit more difficult and stuff, but this side doesn't know when it's beaten anymore. And it plays the full 90-plus minutes now. I think, you know, in the past we've been, you know, a few years ago, we maybe tail off a little bit towards the end of the games and stuff. Now we just keep the throttle down and we just keep on pushing at sides, and I think we truly believe that we're better than sides that we're coming up against.
I think there's something too, you know, we've seen under Klopp time and time again, us just run out of steam at the back end of seasons, and I think particularly now that we're looking at that final, the end is in sight. It's still a little ways off, but I think there's something to, like, the attacking side of things. I don't think we've gone flat out this season. I just feel like we've been waiting, and we keep talking about, like, the long distance runners, when the guy, like, you know, the guy who's the best in the world, and he's not in the pitch, he's not in the picture, and they just pour it on all of a sudden. They flick a switch, and they just
800 to go and he's off.
Yeah, accelerating, deleting, they're gone, and you're not touching them, and it feels like we've got that, like we've got an afterburner button to press, and it could be this one. Andy, the big concern I guess we've got going into this one, we know Gomez had a setback. Apparently the fractured leg's a little bit more serious, so it's going to be a few more weeks before we get him back. The last picture I saw of Trent was him hopping around in a Stone Cold Steve Austin style knee brace, which isn't very encouraging. So the right back thing's going to be a thing. We'll do preferred 11s in a minute, but I think there's probably 3 options we've got there, isn't there? Fabinho, Camacho, and I know something you mentioned pre-filming, Kiana Hoover is probably an outside shout for that.
Yeah, I mean, is Matip good to go then? Is he?
You'd imagine so. I mean,
I think have Matip then at centre back, and I'd have Fabinho then at right back. But if Matip maybe wasn't good to go, I'd give the Dutch kids another go. You know, I know again it's a tricky game. We've just said about Leicester being what they are, but You've just got to get his game in Premier League debut in somewhere, and I think, you know, if they've had that good week away in Dubai, you know, and they maybe worked on it hopefully, and they've had that bonding sessions, and he feels more in the team, then why not?
It is. I mean, it's a far cry.
It's one of those. If it works out, you think, great, well done for throwing him in. If he has a nightmare and we get beat, it's like
Klopp's getting thrown under the bus
exactly.
big time on that one.
But that's. I mean, this is the good thing, isn't it, Ahmed? I mean, we're looking at our solutions to this problem are either Brazilian international or, you know, like hot up and coming talent. It's not. We're not in the days that we've been in the years gone by where Martin Skrtel goes to right back. You're playing some awkwardly, you know, like awkwardly out of position guy in there. We've got lads who can do it, who they lack experience at the top level, but they don't lack experience of actually playing the position.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only thing is I was pondering on was the next game we got after that, right? Do we put maybe Fabinho in and we put a strong team in so that when they come in against the next game after that, we still have the same problem with Trent, if we still have the same problem with Gomez, you know, we need Fabinho to be strong in that right back position.
That's an interesting point.
He's going to need to come in, you know, against Man United, against Bayern.
I guess what the thought is, does he think Milner's? Yeah, does he think I mean, obviously Milner would probably almost guarantee be starting this game if he wasn't suspended, wouldn't he? So maybe I guess that's a contributing factor. But it's an interesting point, is that, you know, if Trent's going to be out for a few games, this is an option to get someone up to speed.
And I think that's why the Milner suspension hurts us, because I think he thinks that Milner's the right pick for that. I think, you know, we'd have seen Fabinho there instead of James Milner. I think Fabinho's such an integral part of the midfield now. You know, the way that he's playing there and how the midfield has come on since he started to perform, that you don't want to take him out of there for too many games. But I can see, you know, you're talking about experience. Fabinho, not everyone says, you know, he's the right back for Brazil. I think he's played 7 times for Brazil in his career. So it's not like he's played loads, by the way, when everyone says this.
Yeah, we've not got Dani Alves on the bench here.
Exactly. But the one thing that we're looking at Fabinho is, it's not that he plays right back for Brazil, it's that he was a right back.
Yeah.
Monaco, when he was there he went on loan there for a year before they signed him. He was a right back for that entire period, and Monaco changed his position to be a defensive midfielder. So he's actually well more experienced at right back than people give him credit for. Yeah. To the point where he's played more games at right back in his career than he has at centre midfielder. Yeah. And that's why I would put Fabinho in there.
It shows you what a player he is as well. The only thing I think now with that is, like you said, he has become such an integral part of the midfield. Are you Klopp then? Would you want to keep him midfield and then maybe give one of the youngsters a go at right back, because you do want to keep him in that midfield role?
Yeah. It depends when you're looking to beat. It's that eternal balance of it. You're trying to not get beat, but also trying to cause the opposition problems. And are we a better enterprise for having Fabinho in the middle of the park? And I think probably and that's for me. Camacho is a real potential for this one. Particularly, I wouldn't if we were going away to Leicester, I wouldn't be putting Camacho in for this one, but. And it will depend on how they approach this. If they're going to hit us on the counter attack, he's got pace. You know, he's got good recovery pace. I don't think he's a right back. I think we've had this chat. I don't think he wants to be a right back. I think he wants to be a right winger. So he's going to try and prove that at every given opportunity. But I thought he looked good in the Wolves game. You know, he supports attack. He's brave on the ball. Again, he'll have the backing of the Anfield crowd as well, and he'll be surrounded by good players for the start.
That Wolves game, Wolves away, is a hard game. Yeah. And they both done really well. The two kids coming in. Yeah. You know, this is at home. I think that's why I'm leaning more towards giving one of them a go.
Yeah, no,
I'm not too sure, to be honest. With Camacho, I've seen when Leicester attack, they like to come up that left hand side with Chilwell and Barnes. You know, they like to come up and they like to graze it, and they come in. So yeah, I'm not too sure about Camacho in that right back position for this game. I know they attack through the left.
For me, I tend to agree with Ahmed, because you know that Wolves game, or when Camacho was playing right back, and I know we had Hoover in at centre half and stuff, and that will skew it. But the midfield changed. You know, when we're used to seeing, and you talk about it all the time, Paul, the midfielder dropping into the right back place when they bomb forwards. But what was happening was Milner was dropping between the centre halves. Hoover was pushing over to right back, and that's just not how we play normally. And I think, you know, if you were to put Camacho in there, is that going to be the same pattern? Is a midfielder dropping in?
Yeah, it depends on your midfield too. I think it's made loads easier because depending on the fitness of Gini, you've got two from Wijnaldum, Henderson, and Fabinho to pick in potentially in a two-man midfield. You've got legs and you've got cover in there. I feel loads more secure about having an attacking right back in this, because I think we've got the midfield to handle it. Whereas you're right, Wolves was a shit show because James Milner was doing about 5 jobs. In that he was basically like babysitting 3 players at the same time.
You know, I don't think playing Fabinho there, he's not Joe Gomez playing right back. If you know what I mean. Joe Gomez is very much a defensive right back, and he probably doesn't bomb on as much as Trent. You know, there's a period around Christmas where Fabinho got 2 assists in 2 games from 1-2s and crosses into the box. You know, that's the type of midfielder that he can be, and I think that he would be able to do that from the right back position as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, it's good. I mean, like I say, it's a problem that we've just presented 3 pretty decent solutions for, which is, again, we talk about our squad. You know, we haven't quite got the names there that maybe, you know, a City have, but, you know, and it's very early days for some of these lads, but it's brilliant to get into the channel.
It's mad, isn't it? Because, you know, I've seen Man United play a winger at left back for years in Young, and Valencia was a winger, and he was playing right back, and you know, Delph's been playing left back for Man City and stuff like that.
Shit.
No, but Delph for Man City. You know, these lads can do a job in these games.
Some good footballers in the situations, I think, is, you know, that's what we'll look for, and I'd be excited when we do that. I'd be quite excited to see Fabinho do it, just to see how he does it, because he started to look great in everything that he's doing for us. Wouldn't mind seeing Keanu Hoover as well, because he's clearly a very, very highly rated talent, and he's another one so confident on the ball. We saw that it wasn't. Again, Camacho was taking shots on from the edge of the 18, and not like, oh, the ball's dropping, like, no, everyone, I'm fired, I've got this. We spooned it, like, but he clearly knew.
As long as he thinks he's Gareth Bale playing fullback, that's fine. Like,
don't forget, we saw Hoover play with Fabinho in centre back. We haven't seen Hoover play with VVD, Virgil van Dijk.
I mean, I'd look good playing, you know, alongside
anyone would. Yeah.
So he could play by himself. He doesn't even need the next centre back with him.
You know, that's another way. Maybe we get another forward on the pitch and just leave Virgil with 2 fullbacks.
Let him do it. Brilliant. Right, we're going to talk about preferred 11s in a little bit. Before we do, Chris sat down with journalist Chris Bascom on the Newsroom podcast this week. Here's a little clip.
They're in pretty good shape, Liverpool. I mean, I don't really think you're going to see, you know, massive big deals constantly now in the way that they needed the Van Dijk deal done, they needed the Alisson deal done. Although having said that, you know, if somebody huge came along, I think they're in a strong position now to just go and do it and just go, okay, instead of buying the 3 this summer, we'll just buy the 1, we'll buy 75 million for him, put him straight in. That's the strength of what they've done now and all these contracts. It should actually, they spent a lot of money, but should actually...
they're spending this for 5 years.
Exactly, you know, and a lot of the money that has been subsidised by success and players saying, you know, I constantly get wound up now by, you know, this idea, oh, Klopp's just done what City did. Well, he didn't, because City didn't have to sell David Silva to buy, you know, the last big deal, you know, to buy the goalkeeper, did the Edison. Liverpool sold Coutinho against, you know, not wanting to sell him, but it was that money that subsidises Alisson, really. I don't think Alisson's here if Coutinho's still here.
Yeah, Chris, fascinating time as always.
It was, mate, honestly. Like, you know, we talk obviously about what's gone on last week and stuff like that, and a lot of this video is actually evergreen because we talk about Chris's life and journalism, how that's changed, and he had some tasty words to say about Martin Skrtel, which was, he actually attributed Martin Skrtel as the reason that we bought Andy Carroll and Christian Benteke. Hates Martin Skrtel. And he said, like, you know, we bought them on the back of them beasting us all the time, and it was Skrtel's fault. He was so shit at centre-back that we ended up buying Benteke and Andy Carroll because he couldn't deal with them. And then they get to the football club and you realise that everyone else has got better centre-backs than Martin Skrtel, and they're shit. Brilliant. I mean, I've never heard that view of Martin Skrtel, but it's one that I absolutely back.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, go and check that out. And Chris does the Newsroom every single week. Sat down with Neil Atkinson from the Anfield Wrap the week before. You've had Melissa Reddy. You've had basically every Northwest journal worth the salt in at this point. And yeah, fantastic stuff. Get over to redmentv.com, sign up, start your 3-month trial, and you can get that, of course. But listen, we've got Andy Grant in. Once again, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Mate. I mean, you'd have come in anyway without having something to promote, of course.
Yeah,
but you have got something to promote. Obviously, you've got the book. It's been out for about a year or so now?
It's been out since May, so about 6 months now on hardback, but it's just come out on the 24th of January on paperback.
Yeah. Just obviously, top line. It's being pushed towards the Liverpool market, of course, because you're a Liverpool fan, but it's not a Liverpool.
No. Yeah, it's basically just about my life. Yeah, I've just had a pretty interesting 10 years, and the 3rd of February, funnily enough, is 10 years since I was blown up in Afghanistan. So it's nice how it's all kind of came
Not
about.
the best of anniversaries.
No, well, it is for me because, you know, it's obviously, it could have went a lot differently, whereas now, you know, I just feel like the luckiest man in the world. I've got, you know, a really nice life now. Things have turned out all right in that sense, and that's what the book is about, just detailing what happened to me, being in the Marines, Iraq, Afghanistan, being blown up. I ended up choosing myself to have the leg amputated about 18 months later, just for a better quality life.
So what was that? What was that like? So obviously you brought up and you obviously still had.
You were in a coma for nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah, again, apologies. It's because it's.
You tell it a lot.
It's a normal thing for me, isn't it? I guess, but yeah, I mean, I was in the Marines. I joined at 17, served in Iraq, and then it was Afghanistan, and I naively at the time thought Iraq and Afghanistan, you know, similar type of tour, couldn't have been more wrong. You know, Afghanistan was like the Wild West. And we'd been there about 4.5 months on a routine foot patrol, one that we'd done hundreds of times before. I was the second man in the patrol and my best mate was leading the way. 5:30 in the morning, so it's pitch black. He's jumped over this ditch, and on the other side of the ditch, in between two trees, there was a tripwire. It's pitch black, impossible to see. He's jumped over this. I was the second man ready to jump. He's jumped, hit this wire. 2 bombs have went off in between us, blown him forward and blown me back. And I remember the whole thing, funnily enough, perfect, you know, even 10 years on. It took about 40 minutes or so from that bomb going off to the helicopter picking me up. But just in that one split second, I suffered 27 separate injuries, shrapnel to my face, broken elbow, broken sternum, chunks out both forearms, severed my femoral artery. So they say if you do anything to your femoral artery, you can bleed to death within 6 minutes. So the guys on the ground had a tourniquet on my leg, saved my life. I broke both lower legs, bits missing here and there. And I remember that 40 minutes perfect. They got me onto a helicopter, took me back to Camp Asti in the main hospital, and then placed me into a 2-week induced coma. And the next thing I knew was waking up with my dad sitting next to me, and I had a good cry with him and told him I was sorry for getting blown up.
Christ. So, I mean, I know this is a bit of a different take what we normally do on the build-up shows, of course, like, but what's that? I mean, that 40 minutes? Because you always wonder about it. Like, what's that like in terms of the? Is it like I mean, it sounds like the most painful thing you can ever have in your life, or is it just something that it's so painful you don't register?
I always try and, when I explain it, break it down into 3 parts. The first 10 minutes was just shock. So I was in no pain, but I just started screaming as loud as I could because I knew it was pitch black. I didn't know whether I'd fell into the ditch or being blown 100 metres away. It was just make as much noise so that the guys knew exactly where I was. Thankfully, I'd only fell back a metre or 2. The lads ran to me. And for the next 10 minutes, it was just a lot of me saying, lads, have I still got my arms and legs? I said, yeah, Andy, don't worry. I said, lads, don't lie to me. Have I got my arms and legs? Like, yeah, Andy, don't worry. Like, lads, do not fucking lie to me. Have I still got? So that was for about 10 minutes. They put the morphine into me. But then the next 10 minutes, I was like, there's something seriously wrong with my right leg. Like, the pain was just excruciating. Basically, I'd lost a half of my thigh and I had a tourniquet around my leg. So a tourniquet is like a belt that they just pulled as tight as they could. And just the pain, it felt like, you know, if you got like a small kind of surface area, but then, you know, when your dad used to grab your thigh or something as a kid and then squeeze your thigh, it's like that feeling times a million. And it was a dull ache, but also a sharp pain. And it was just the most excruciating pain for about 10, 15 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes or so, it sounds really morbid, but I'd obviously lost a lot of blood at this point, and the guys had done everything they could to save my life. And they're trying to keep me awake, you know, that dark humour. They're saying, you know, we had a football tournament going, and they're saying, you know, Andy, doesn't look like you'll be top goal scorer anymore, does it? You know, they're calling me half a tour Andy because I'm not doing the last 6 weeks of the tour. You know, they're just trying to keep me entertained, and it got to a point where I was obviously close to dying. I mean, who knows how long? Maybe another 5 or 10 minutes. And they're saying, "Come on, Andy, keep talking." And I'm getting really tired at this point, and I'm just like, "What do you want to talk about?" Like, and that's the point where, you know, you feel yourself getting tired, and you've obviously not got long left. And thankfully, at that point, the helicopter came in, and just that feeling, that warm, fuzzy feeling I got when I heard the helicopter come in, thinking I'm going to survive. The lads put me on the back of the helicopter, and that's when I don't really remember anything. Then they obviously put all the drugs and fluids into me and bloods, and then 2 weeks later, I wake up back in England.
So the title of the book, obviously, you'll never walk, which is darkly, darkly ironical, whatever. That comes about from the tattoo that you had.
So I kept the leg at the time, but just for me, you know, I was this, you know, young Marine, really fit, loved travelling, playing football, running, and suddenly I had this leg that didn't work, and I thought, you know, I need to take control of my life again. So I decided to have the leg amputated for a better quality of life, essentially. When I went down to have the leg amputated, again, it was such a weird feeling because, you know, no one told me I needed to have it done. It was all down to me. Yeah. So like the night before, I'm in the hotel with my dad, and I'm standing there having a pint, and I'm thinking, this is the last beer I'm going to have with two legs. Do you know what I mean? You're thinking, and no one's telling me.
Strange thought that
no one's telling me I have to do it. It's like I'm choosing to chop this leg off. Weird 24 hours. Go into the hospital the next day. Go into the anaesthetist room, and then wake up 2 hours later as an amputee. Now, anyone who has had an operation, the first thing is, you know, I hope it all went well. I was obviously no different. The surgeon come round a few hours later. He says, Andy, how are you feeling? I said, yeah, I'm good, thanks, doc. You know, please put me out of my misery. Please tell me everything went okay. He says, I've got good and bad news. And straight away, my heart just sinks, thinking, you know, he's had to amputate higher up the leg. There's been complications and what have you. He said, no, listen, good news is the operation went really well. I'm thinking, you know, what could possibly be the bad news then? He says, well, you're a big Liverpool fan, aren't you? I'm thinking, how long have I been asleep for? You know, what's going on here? He says, well, on your leg, I got a tattoo when I was 16, a live bird that You'll Never Walk Alone, tattooed on my calf. And he says, you know, you want to run and play football and climb mountains and to do all these things. For me to create a decent stump for you, I've had to pull the skin round from the back of the leg, and I'm sorry, but I've cut off the word alone. So your tattoo now reads You'll Never Walk. So the live bird's a little bit like ski whiff now. And yeah, it literally just says You'll Never Walk. Again, one of the big things we get taught in the Marines is commando humour. You know, you can either laugh or you can cry, and it's just one of those. It's turned out for a good story, and like I say, even 10 years on now, it's like it's a laugh. So it's and yeah, that's so. When I told the publishers about that, they were like, that's got to be the title for the book.
Absolutely amazing, mate. Well, like, if you want to get involved and get more of Andy's story, of course, obviously the book's available now, but you've also got agmotivation.co.uk, you do public speaking and what have you, and obviously you've gotten through an ordeal like that and you're able to smile at the end of it, so it's...
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like the luckiest person in the world. I get to share my story about, again, not just all the great times that I've done, there's obviously been some dark times, but I guess through the public speaking, the message I try and get across is, you know, you don't need to lose a leg in Afghanistan to realise life can be tough. Yeah. You know, life is hard for us all, you know, whether that's financially living month to month, you know, debts in the family, relationship breakdowns, you know, life is bloody hard sometimes, you know what I mean? And hopefully by reading the book or listening to me speak and hearing my story, people will realise that, you know, you can get through it and, you know, there is hope.
Amazing. So how are you handling the title challenge with all that behind you?
Yeah, exactly.
Must seem like a piece of piss by comparison.
I spoke to, funny enough, again, to do with the book, we've done some work with Sky and Carragher, and it's that whole thing. I said, you know, when you're allowed to start getting excited, all this kind of acting cool and, oh yeah, I can deal with pressure well and life's been tough for me, I can deal with this. I'm just like everyone else. I want to, you know... My experience in Afghanistan, it doesn't help me at all when it comes to getting excited, believe
Leicester
me.
Leicester at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'll be a bag of nerves still, don't worry about that.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, as I say, please do pick up the book and obviously get involved if you want to hear more from Andy, then yeah, go onto the website as well. But yes, gents, preferred 11's time. Ahmed, you have gone Fabinho right back, shock, given that you've just been, you know, bashing that drum for the start of the show. Fabinho, Matip, Van Dijk, Robbo, Hendo... Keita, is that?
Yeah, correct.
Keita's an interesting shout in the midfield. We've not really seen him as part of a two-man midfield.
Yeah, I don't see Wijnaldum starting. I see him coming onto the pitch for Keita, but I don't see him starting.
Okay, interesting one. It's about time, really, isn't it? I mean, I think there was a really interesting piece on the Echo this week, and they talked about how, looking at his stats going back to Leipzig, how he's just far more effective as a footballer in the middle of the park than he is from the left and what have you. We're getting to that point now. Klopp's had a bit more time to work with, and we know, as I said, Dubai wasn't super intensive, so it might yet be the next break prior to Munich, of course, but this is as good a time as any, I guess.
Well, if he can't start this game, which game's going to start?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I think he's more effective in the middle of the park. I think he is really one of the only options we have, and being that Wijnaldum didn't even take part in the last game, I think we're going to need him.
Okay.
I agree with Ahmed on that. I want to see Keita given an opportunity in the centre of the park. I mean, you know, he's a player that Klopp waited for a year. We've probably been slightly underwhelmed, I would say, at the moment as a fan base with Naby Keita's performances. And kind of like what Ahmed just said there, you know, at some point he's going to have to start games in the centre of midfield. And it feels to me like this is a good time to do it. Coming back off that break, Klopp, it might not have been super intensive in terms of the workload, but it might have been time for them to talk about the tactics and what he wants to see from Naby in that role. And listen, he's a fantastic footballer. And we want to see the best out of him at Liverpool. I don't think we're selling him at the end of the year if he has the same second half of the season as he had first half. You want it, and Klopp wants to get the best out of players. And actually, of all the players in the squad right now, Naby's probably the only one that Klopp's not getting a tune out of, to the extent that he is with everybody else. And that'll probably hurt
Naby as well. He's one of those players. I'm trying to think of another player I was so looking forward to seeing for a while. Yeah. Another player that, you know, we were linked to, and you're thinking, I can't wait to see him. Because like Fabinho, that was a bit of a shock, wasn't it, when we got him? It was like, oh, nice surprise. Whereas Keita, we've had a year of watching him, thinking this is going to be great, and because he hasn't hit the ground running like we all hoped, I wouldn't say it's an added pressure, but you can. I think just everyone wants him to do well, don't they? And it's that kind of.
I wonder for him, because we had this a bit with Origi, didn't we? Because he had like a year before we got him in, and you don't know how that psychologically impacts you. You know, do you take the foot off the pedal a little bit in your own development at the club you were at, or is
he didn't seem to though, did he?
Yeah, no, it just, but it's, you know, does the pressure build up in your own head a little bit? You know, because right, and I think some of this is circumstantial because we changed the formation when he was out injured, so he's the position that he was playing at the start of the season that he was growing into, and he was doing a decent job, and all of a sudden doesn't exist in the team that we play at the moment. But there's clearly a player there. I just think it's good that he doesn't need to perform, if you get what I mean. You know, it's not like he's our superstar one signing like we've had in years ago. Like if Fernando Torres hadn't worked in 2007, we'd have been like, what the hell have we just done? Like the Andy Carroll thing to some extent, albeit, you know, Suarez kind of softened the blow with that. There's no, like, we don't need him to be world class. It would just be nice if he started to live up to the potential a bit. So no, interesting shout, because you went
I went the exact same team as Ahmed, yeah, for the same reasons.
Yeah, and you were a little bit different, but you know, for you, obviously we've discussed like if Matip's available, you know, could be Hoover or Fabinho at right back, and you know, it all being fit, Henderson, Gini in the midfield, make sure Shaqiri's in there as well.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said before about the World Cup year as well. Makes me think, thankfully we don't have to think like this, but imagine if Holland was in the World Cup and you think, would Gini have had the season he will have had?
Yeah.
Yeah. If, you know...
Van Dijk as well, I think about Van Dijk, yeah. To get him on the pitch every week. Exactly. He was a bit tired, like.
So I think, yeah, Gini, hopefully if he's fitting well, I'd start with him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally I went, Camacho in at right back, Matip, Van Dijk, Robbo, Henderson, Fabinho in the midfield. It's just that thing for me, that balancing act at the moment of the fitness of Wijnaldum. We don't know right now how fit and available he is, and what we've got left on the bench as well. You know, I've not put Keita in because I could put Keita in. I just think at the minute it's about, we've had that break. There's no excuses in terms of fitness. Put our absolute strongest team out, and I think our strongest team is. It's the 10 strongest players in the best positions to the best of their ability, Fabinho midfield, and then you make up for right back by having the best team around it. So yeah, I mean, but again, you asked Gini Wijnaldum goes in the midfield, Fabinho goes to right back, massive shrug. You know, Gini's probably been our best midfielder this season. Fabinho again plays for Brazil, is an experienced international right back. Yeah, we could do far worse. Looking at rival fixtures then. Arsenal take, I don't know why I keep putting these teams in, but Arsenal take on Cardiff, Man United, Burnley, swear to God. Man City travel to Newcastle. I hold no hope there whatsoever. So the gap, quite clearly, Andy, is going to be down to 1 point by the time we take on Leicester on Wednesday.
Kind of a little bit of hope with Rafa, come on.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we do this every week, and Rafa's let us down a lot so far this season.
The only time Rafa hasn't let us down is by turning up to Anfield and getting beat. You know, he's been doing the things that he's done to every other team. At least he's been consistent in losing to all of our rivals so far this season. And the Spurs take on Watford, of course. But you know, as mentioned, because we've had a few weeks where we've been able to put the pressure on Man City. This all feeds into this whole thing. Liverpool have had the break. There can be no excuses now. There can't be any, we've got to get back up to speed, or we're a bit sluggish because we're not in rhythm, etc, etc, etc. Man City are going to go and put 3 points on the board, and then Liverpool need to go and do the same.
And probably another 6 or 7 goals as well, because I think have City scored 28 goals and conceded none in the last 5?
5 or 6.
I mean, it's meant. I know you can look at the teams that they've played.
They've literally done that thing, though, to be fair, on Footy Manager, where you play your reserves. You know, you play against a team of children every week to get
that was Footy Manager. That was my last game before the season started. I played the unders, get a little bit of confidence in the squad. But that's what Manchester City have
set up by having your senior players batter them everywhere. Like, but yeah, that's kind of like poor old Burton Albion have turned up and just been absolutely dicked everywhere, bless them. But yeah, so yeah, hopefully, who knows? Maybe they've got an overconfidence.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's an interesting one for me. They're all interesting ones. I don't know why I say it, but because personally, I just think this is one of those games where we just need to get back on air. Just a comfortable 2-0 would take me, to places where I need to be
I can't imagine that this is going to be an easy game for Liverpool in any way, shape or form. I think, Leicester are a good side. They've got players who've hurt us. Madison's on fire. Vardy always hurts us. It's one of those games where I think Liverpool are just going to have to manage this one and get through it and try and get a good result.
Get back up to speed.
Exactly, and it might be the next game and the game after where we start to see that football again.
All that being said, Andy, let's go with the narrative that Liverpool are all fresh and refreshed and primed and ready to go. If we could go out there and put a big, rack up a big score, I think that would set the tone magnificently for this run here.
Yeah, I'm quietly confident. Everything being said about Leicester, no disrespect to them and the manager, and like I say, Vardy, I don't think it's just Liverpool. He always seems to score against the top 4. He does really well. I think, I don't know, I've just got a feeling 3 or 4-0. I think on the back of the Palace game, they need to prove a point.
Yeah.
The back of the break, and also with that pressure of City probably getting the gap down to 1. Those 3 things, I think, at home as well. I'm confident in that they can put on a good performance, but also get a few goals in as well. Yeah,
I think the Crystal Palace thing's it's a great motivational tool, Ahmed, because they're saying, look, you've got the ability to score this, but if you take your eyes off the ball, that's exactly what happened. Do you want to have another one of those games, lads? Do you want to be Liverpool from last year or the year before again? And you'd hope the answer from that squad is a resounding no. We want to be watertight like we've been this season, but also, again, time to flex our muscles and score a few goals.
Yeah, definitely. I'm saying maybe 2-0. I don't think, like I said before, I think they're a bit unpredictable. I think we've got to be careful. I saw down the left, which is our right. And that's where we've got our concerns. So
you go with, if you had to go for a prediction, you go with a 2-0.
I'm going with a 2-0. I think Liverpool's going to play a bit safe this game, and I don't think they're going to be chasing the goals. We've got the players from the front that can go and get the goals. I don't think our defense needs to come up. So
It's interesting looking at Leicester's, just their form and stuff. They're all over the place, aren't they? I think they've lost the last 3 games back to back. But then if you remember back in December, they beat Chelsea and they beat City back to back. Yeah. I think is their last win against Everton on New Year's Day.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. That was one in 5, I think it is. And we talk about Puel being a bit of a bogey manager, and we know that Leicester's a good team, but he's on the brink. Yeah, things are not going well for him. There was talk of him getting the boot after the Wolves game last week. They've obviously stuck it out with them. They are fragile. I think if we go out there, we go out strong early on. You'd like to think it'll fit in with where their heads are at the moment.
Yeah, it's a mad one, like him losing his job, because they're not really in danger of relegation. I don't think they've got a chance of European football, as it were. So if they were closer to European football, maybe, I don't know, would you sack him to get that little boost? They're in
that clutch of 7th to 12th, and they're in there with Wolves and with Bournemouth and those kind of.
Are Everton still in that?
I think they are. Yeah, they are in there somewhere, of course. And they're just kind of aimlessly washing around in the middle. They'll get a win and they'll be right up to 7th, but there's now that gap between. Man United obviously turned and obviously there's like 10 points I think between 7th and 6th at this point, so hopefully they've just realised that it's just a bit cold, it's a bit hard at the moment, there's no real need to go.
Vardy probably needs a rest, so why not just give him a week off?
He's getting old now, isn't he? Like, he's probably got to prep for presumably his next EDL rally or something
probably,
like that. Whatever, like, so but yeah, no, I think I'd be perfectly content with a nice solid 2-0, a late third kind of win, but I think just because of Man City will load that pressure on us, and I keep talking about how we psychologically impact us, I think it would just be brilliant for them to think, well, Liverpool have been wavering a bit, they've been conceding a few goals and we're flying, we're absolutely flying. If we start flying as well, I think City, that's that first nail in the, we're going to start to think about Europe, and we're going to start to focus on the cups, and we're going to start to think about this and that.
It's tough as well, because we've talked about it for weeks, haven't we, where we've played first before Manchester City, and now with the television stuff that's come out, are we following them 7 of 9 in the new television games? And this is obviously the first time we've got to do it for a while, so there's actually probably even more importance on how we react to their result from Tuesday night in our game against Wednesday, because it's going to happen next weekend when we play Monday night against West Ham, and it happens a few times between now and the end of the season, and you don't want Man City sniffing that sort of blood in the water or whatever, do you? You want them to just think Liverpool are going to win every
And what
game.
would you prefer? Would you prefer the playing after them or knowing what you've got to do?
For my own sense of relaxation, because it's, I mean, they haven't won a title in 30 years.
It's one of those, really, it shouldn't really affect you, that you know you've just got to go out and win, but obviously it does.
Not, I don't think it'll affect them particularly, maybe if there's a little bit of mental fragility, maybe that's one of those things where if it's 0-0 and you get into like the last 15 of games stuff, maybe that's where it ramps up, because I think that'll feed from us. I think we're the weakness in this football club right now. Yeah, us the fans.
But saying that though, one thing I've noticed from previous seasons, I always go back to the 13-14 season. In the crowd, it was tense from minute one. Yeah. Whereas now, I think you talk about the impact Van Dijk had on the rest of the team. I always joke and say the impact Van Dijk's had on the fans, because you're there and you're thinking, it's all right if they have a shot, or they probably get blocked, or the keeper will save it. And that kind of order now in the ground feels completely different to what it's done.
And we've seen it in those games, the Arsenal game and the Palace game, when we went a goal behind, everyone went a bit, but then there was just this
straight away,
roar that builds up of like, nah, this is not how this game goes. So maybe you're right to me. It does feel like something's growing, like we're turning the corner. Just hopefully we just go and beat them. We don't have to worry about any of that motivational stuff. Get a couple of goals up in the first 15, and then just
would be nice.
Cruise to victory. Great. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you want more, of course, get onto the redmentv.com, and once again, get onto agmotivation.co.uk for more from Andy. And of course, do get the book. Absolutely fantastic. And something a bit different. I think we've had a lot of authors come on and they tell they have the very Liverpool related stuff. But yeah, obviously a brilliant fella with a brilliant story to tell. So yeah, do get involved. Thank you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully, it continues to be an absolute pleasure with the footy on the pitch. Hopefully, Agent Rafa does another number so we can all breathe a little bit. But other than that, let's go smash Leicester, take 3 points, and make sure that we've got a solid gap at the top of the Premier League.